Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Rose Dragon deck profile. So I'm really excited for this deck because this deck has some amazing techs in it to make this deck absolutely crazy. I have some amazing packages in the deck, and every single Rose Dragon deck is unique, and I am really excited to show you guys this deck. I've never seen two Rose Dragon decks identical, which is what's amazing because there's so many different options with this particular deck to make it unique, which is what's really cool about the deck. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below where we have all those awesome rewards for you guys, like getting your name scripts from every single video, getting signed cards in the mail, or even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of White Rose Dragon. So White Rose Dragon has some amazing effects in this deck. When this card is normal summoned, then you get to special summon 1 Rose Dragon monster from your hand or graveyard, except another copy of itself. And if this card, if you control a Dragon Tuner monster or a Plant Tuner monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. Or if this card is sent to the graveyard as a synchro material, you can send 1 level 4 or lower, or level 4 or higher plant monster from your deck to the graveyard, which is very important. It has to be level 4 or higher, which is very important for this build, but it helps out a lot to be able to send stuff to the graveyard like your copy of your World Carry-Weight Champion. We then play 3 copies of Red Rose Dragon. Red Rose Dragon is really good in the deck too, because if this card is sent to the graveyard as a synchro material, you can special summon 1 Rose Dragon monster from your hand or deck, except another copy of itself. Then, if it was sent to the graveyard to synchro summon of a Black Rose Dragon or a Plant Synchro monster, you can also add a Frozen Rose or a Blooming of the Darkest Rose from your deck or from your deck to your hand, which is a really important effect to be able to grab additional cards from the deck. We then play a single copy of Blue Rose Dragon. Blue Rose Dragon helps out a little bit in this deck because when this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can select a Black Rose or a plant type monster in your graveyard and special summon it, which is really cool about this deck because it kind of replaces some of the other cards. We then play 3 copies of Dark Rose Fairy. Dark Rose Fairy is really neat because if a tuner monster is special summoned to your field, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then, if this card is in your graveyard, you can send 1 card from your hand or field to the grave to place this card on top or bottom of your deck, which is pretty good because you're just going to be able to recur this card over and over again to get you another monster that can special summon to the field. We then play 3 copies of Rose Girl. Rose Girl is very, very helpful in this deck because what she does is a face-up plant monster you control is sent to the graveyard, then you can special summon this card from your hand. And if a plant monster on the field and sent to the graveyard, then you get to add this card from your graveyard to your hand, which is really cool just to add it back to your hand if a plant monster is sent to the grave. We then play 3 copies of Lone Fire Blossom. Lone Fire Blossom can special summon out a lot of your different plant monsters out of the deck just by attributing this card, and can kind of loop you into some really amazing plays, which is why you play this card as a 3 of in this particular build. We play 3 copies of Predaplant Orthoscorpio. Orthoscorpio is fantastic because when this card is normal or special summon, you get to send 1 monster from your hand to the graveyard to be able to special summon a Predaplant monster from your deck, which is always going to be your 2 copies of your Predaplant Darling Cobra. Darling Cobra is really good because it can search out a polymerization or a fusion spell, which is really good for the deck because it can search out like instant fusion, super polymerizations, and stuff like that. It can search out some really amazing cards in this particular deck. Being able to really search, the main target that I usually grab out of the deck is the instant fusion. Just immediately grabbing that to be able to go into synchro plays is just really good. We then play a single copy of World Carry-Weight Champion. World Carry-Weight Champion is really good in the deck because if this card is sent to the graveyard, then, or if this card's in the graveyard, you can send a plant monster from your hand or face from your field to the grave, and then you get to special summon this card back to your field, and you can only use the effect once per turn. But being able to get a monster back on your field constantly is just really good to be able to go into some really amazing plays. I play a single copy of Copy Plant. Copy Plant lets you once per turn select 1 face-up plant monster on the field and have this card's level become that level of that monster, so it can help you copy other levels to go into other monsters, which is really good for this particular card. 1 copy of Spore. Spore helps out in the deck too because if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish 1 other plant type monster from your grave to special summon this card back from the grave and increase the level of that monster, of this monster, by the banished monster's level. So for example, if you banish a 3, it will come back as a 4, which is what's really cool. To be able to just get it to come back onto the field by increasing its level. We play 3 copies of Ash Blossom as well because the 3 Ash is just really good in this deck to be able to send from your hand to the graveyard to stop your opponent from all sorts of shenanigans. And then I'm personally playing playing something really unique in this particular deck because I really think that it's a awesome card to help out in this particular build currently. And I'm playing a single copy of Red Eyes Black Dragon and a single copy of Dark Magician because this helps you go into your Dragoons package in this particular deck because there's just an overall really needed thing in this particular deck to have some extra tech in the deck. And what's really cool about the entire play is that your Red Eyes Dark Dragoon cannot be destroyed by card effects, which is really cool because your Black Rose Dragon destroys all of monsters on the field, and your copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoons can kind of live through a Black Rose, so you can have it on your field and then go for your copy of Black Rose Dragon, and your opponent can't play through it, and you can because a copy of your monster can live through it, which really is awesome. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is really helpful in this deck because it's going to help you get off a lot of different plays in this particular build just by reviving cards from the graveyard. One copy of Red Eyes Fusion. This is just here to go into Red Eyes Dark Dragoons. We play a single copy of Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion is really good because it can bring out a lot of different monsters in the extra deck to be able to help you with a lot of different plays, which is what's really helpful in this particular deck. To be able to go into stuff like your copy of your Sea Monster of Thestalos, to be able to go into a Synchro play is just really, really good. One copy of Foolish Burial, because Foolish Burial is going to help out the deck a lot. Send the exact card that you need to the graveyard when you need it. One copy of Black Garden. Black Garden is really neat because when a monster is normal or special summoned, except by the effect of Black Garden, you have its attack. And also, you can special summon one Rose token that has a level 2, 800 attack, 800 defense to the controller of the opponent's field. So basically, if I special summon a copy, or if I normal summon or special summon a monster to my field, you get a Rose token that is a 800 to level 2, and also it has the ability that's an attack position, and the loss of the attack remains even this card leaves the field. And you can also target one face-up monster or one monster in your graveyard with attack equal to the total of all plant monsters on the field. Destroy this card and any plant monsters on the field as possible. And then the total attack of the destroyed monster on the field is equal to the attack of the destroyed monsters. You can special summon the monster from the graveyard. So for example, if there's 3 Rose tokens on the field, you go 8, 16, 24. I can target my copy of Black Rose Dragon in the graveyard and bring it back to my field because it's 2400. We then play 3 copies of Frozen Rose. Frozen Rose is really good because it lets you send one face-up monster to the graveyard to apply one of the effects. To either send, or if you send a plant monster, then during the end phase of this turn, you get to draw 2 and then discard a card. And if it wasn't a plant, you get to add a level 4 lower plant from your deck to your hand, which is really helpful for this deck because if you have a copy of Anaconda on the field after you've gone for Dragoons, and you have this, you can send the Dragoon or the Anaconda away so they can't super poly it away as easy, and they can't attack into a 500 attack point monster. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Polymerization is really, really good in this deck because you play a lot of dark monsters in this build, and so the copies of Super Polymerization is just really, really good to be able to go into stuff like your Starving Venom Fusion Dragon and be able to go into just cards that's going to end your opponent with the greatest of ease because you have so much advantage with this particular card. Just going into Starving Venom Fusion Dragon once and then summoning your Dragoons and a Black Rose, you have all sorts of crazy plays. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the trap. So we only play 1 trap, which is a single copy of Blooming of the Darkest Rose. Blooming of the Darkest Rose is a very good card in this deck because you let you special summon a Rose token to your side of the field, or excuse me, you special summon Rose tokens, plant, dark, level 2, 800 attack, 800 defense, and defense addition to either player's field up to the combined number of cards in the field spell zone and field spells in the graveyard. And if this card is in the graveyard, you get to target 1 Black Rose Dragon or 1 plant monster in your main monster zone and banish it. And if you do, you place this card on the bottom of the deck, and then during the next standby phase, return that banished monster on the field, which is a really good effect just to be able to kind of get your monster off the field really quickly and get it right back. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Black Rose Dragon. Black Rose Dragon is fantastic. When this card is Synchro Summon, you can destroy all cards on the field, and then once per turn, you can remove from play 1 plant monster from your graveyard to change the attack of 1 monster your opponent controls that's in face of attack positions. You reduce its attack to 0, which is really good just to be able to help you OTK your opponent. 1 copy of Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. Moonlight Dragon is really good too because if this card is special summon or a level 5 monster or higher monster is special summoned to your opponent's side of the field, you get to target one special summon monster your opponent controls and return that target to the hand, which is really good just to help you bounce stuff off the field so you don't have to deal with it. One copy of Cyber's Quantum Dragon. Cyber's Quantum Dragon is really good because when you control a Link monster, your opponent cannot target monsters you control for attacks except this card, and also your opponent cannot target monsters you control with card effects except this one. And then once per turn at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you return that opponent's monster to the hand, and also this card can make a second attack, which is really good just to be able to go after your opponent with this card. I love playing this card as a one-of in the deck, because you kind of have Black Rose to kind of deal with the field, and then you have this to deal with whatever's left, which is what's really good. One copy of Queen of Thorns. Queen of Thorns is neat because each player must pay 1,000 life points to normal or special summon from their hand, except for a plant monster. So it's really good to kind of help lock your opponent down with this card, so I play it as a one-of in this particular build. One copy of Garden Rose Maiden. Garden Rose Maiden is really good too, because if this card is special summoned, you get to add a Black Garden from your deck or graveyard to your hand, and you manage this card from the grave to target a Rose Dragon or a Dragon Synchro monster in your grave and special summon it, which is really good to help you get a lot of recursion. Play a single copy of Crystal Wing. Crystal Wing is extremely easy to go into this deck. It requires a tuner and a non-tuner. It helps dealing, or a tuner and a non-tuner synchro monster, which is usually going to be your Garden Rose Maiden with a Red Rose Dragon or a Rose Girl. You can use that together to make Crystal Wing in this deck really easily. Or you can use a Black Rose plus a level 1 tuner monster to go into this card. So it's really easy to go into this card because you have a lot of different options and just deals with all monster effects. One copy of Borreload Savage. Borreload Savage is just really good just to deal with a lot of different plays against you, because this card is just really good in this particular build just to get you additional negations. I play a single copy of Needle Fiber. Needle Fiber is just really good because it gets you additional tuner monsters on your field. One copy of Crossroads Dragon. Crossroads Dragon, during the main phase, quick effect, you can tribute this card and a plant monster, especially summon a Rose Dragon Synchro, or a plant Synchro monster from your X deck, and this card is treated as a Synchro summon. If this monster you control is destroyed by a card effect while this card's in your graveyard, then you can banish this card to special summon one Rose Dragon monster from your graveyard as well, which is pretty good just to be able to get you an additional play. One copy of Anaconda to help us go into Dragoons, and use our copy of Super Poly from the deck. One copy of the Herratic Seal of Heavenly Spheres. You play a lot of different dragons in decks. This card's really easy to go into. Sea Monster of Thestalos. This is our one instant fusion target, which is really good. One copy of Dragoons, because you can summon Dragoons with the greatest of ease in this deck, because this deck does a lot of 2-card combos. You can end with a Dragoons and say, I've ended with like a Dragoons, a Crystal Wing, and like an Anaconda on the field, which is pretty good just to be able to get me all sorts of different plays with a couple of back row set is just really good. Like a copy of the Blooming of the Darkest Rose and a copy of Frozen Rose and maybe even Super Poly. It just kind of depends on what you draw into and with your opening hand. And then a single copy of Starving Venom to round out the monsters. The Starving Venom is really helpful in the deck because it's your big Super Poly target that you're going to be using the majority of the time, and it just helps. So that's it for the deck, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely tell us what you think of this deck down in the comments down below. It's really fun to play with. I really like to play around with Rose Dragons, and I'm really excited for the new support that's coming in a couple of months, because it's just going to be really fun to play with. And anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.